In today's video, we're actually going to be giving you the inside scoop of why the torch coral is a pretty easy coral to take care of. With that being said, make sure you sit back, relax, and enjoy today's episode.
Hey, it's Jeff here, the owner of Whitlyn Aquatics, and we're going to go over the care for a torch coral today. The number one question I get, which is, are they hard to care for? With a torch coral comes a definite commitment to making sure that you're testing parameters. You have to be at that stage in your hobby to make sure that you have good success for them. So for us here in the store, we're testing alkalinity, calcium, magnesium, and then on the nutrient side, phosphate and nitrate. Unlike the soft coral family, where you can get by putting zoas in your tank and mushrooms in your tank, and the lighting, the flow, their feeding is not as particular. When it comes to the LPS family, and especially with torch corals, all of that stuff does matter. So we'll cover that here in the video, each of those specifically, but you definitely want to make sure if you're gonna venture into torch corals that you have that commitment to making sure that you're testing your parameters and keeping your tank as stable as possible. They're not hard to keep care of. My in answer would be you can do it. They're one of the most popular corals in the hobby. They're probably one of the most requested corals in the hobby, and they're probably one of my personal favorites. But you got to be on it as far as making sure, like I said, you're testing for things and you're committed to not just putting them in your tank and kind of going and not paying attention to them, because they're going to let you know if you don't do that. So have confidence with them, but definitely make sure you're at that point in your hobby career where you're paying attention to the tank enough, or hiring a company such as Whitlyn Aquatics to keep care of it in a manner that it needs. When it comes to feeding our torch corals here at the Whitlyn Aquatics aquaculture facility, we do feed a variation of different types of food. All tanks get live Phyto, but right here we're putting Benepets into a baster and going through with the flow off, making sure that each of the torch corals can receive the food that we're giving them, and giving them about 10 to 15 minutes to eat. We do this rather than a broadcast, just to try to control nutrient levels in the tank and making sure that each of the coral can get individualized food as they need it. Another thing to take a look at when it comes to the health of a torch coral is how the flesh band, so we call it, underneath the torch coral looks. You want it to be very puffy and extend down in length. That means it's in good growth and health mode, and not as susceptible to some of the diseases that brown jelly and things that torches can get. If you see some that have a very shallow flesh band, such as this one, it may not be happy at the moment. It may be a new arrival that just comes in. It may be one that is stressed under parameters in your tank, and definitely something to pay attention to. When we ship a coral, when we list one for sale, we always make sure that it has a good healthy flesh band to it, because it's going to set the customer up for good success in their tank. One thing that's important with the flow patterns of torches is you do not want one directional flow. So in this video, what you're seeing is a torch that's being pushed all in one direction. You can see the skeleton in some parts of it, and it is not waving back and forth. That would definitely be long-term what you don't want to see. Here's a good example of what the flow should look like. It's a varying motion. Nothing is being pushed in one direction, but a nice good flow back and forth. So when torch corals first come in, they're under stress because they've been shipped. So we like to put them initially in a par value of around 75 to 100, which sounds low, but it's a kind of a stress-free environment for them, so they can get comfortable again to the bright lights that they can become accustomed to. And from there, we will move them up and settle in around anywhere from 150 to about 275. It just depends on the variety. Torch corals that have more of a yellow to them, like the Holy Grail, the banana torches, the ones that you see that are the bright yellow, we'll keep them somewhere around 250 to 275 once it's all said and done, and that takes a couple of weeks usually to get back to that point. Other torch corals we'll keep again, in that mid 100 range, and they seem to do fine there. So if you get a new arrival, putting it in the sand bed to start with and working its way up into the tank is actually not a bad strategy, depending on how bright your lights are.
If you want more of Whitlyn Aquatics, make sure you click on one of these videos right here that YouTube has recommended for you. And if you like what you're seeing, make sure you smash that like button, super kick the subscribe button, and leave a comment what you want to see next or what you thought of today's video. With that being said, we'll see you in the next one.